This is the Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show, your destination for social and political straight talk, on air, online, and on point. Get ready to join the conversation with your host, Ms. Tanya Free.
Today is Wednesday, June 3rd. Welcome to the Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show. I am Tanya Free, joined by my friends, former Richmond City Councilman Bill Johnson. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Ms. Free, on this beautiful rainy day.
Yes, there you go, the positive attitude. And also with us today is Brandon. How are you?
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing just fine. And joining us for the first time from Radio 1 is Brittany Quarles. How are you?
I'm good. I popped my Tanya Free cherry, so I'm very excited.
I like that. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And also doing social media is Antoinette Baylor. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Good. And behind the scenes is Marcus Evans, Mr. Free, and joining us a little later will be Jeremiah. Thank you all so much for being here. We want to tell our listeners to please join the conversation. Phone lines are open, 804-321-1010. Our toll-free number, 844-321-1010, or you can text us at Tanya Free, 63975. I want to extend our condolences to our Vice President Joe Biden and his family for the loss of their son, brother, husband, and father, Beau Biden. We wish God's comfort and peace to them. No matter how you lose a child, it is truly, I believe, devastating. So our blessings to them. Let's talk about a story that is very disturbing. And if you saw the video, I think it's very hard to watch. Shalina Michelle Cooks, an 8 months pregnant African-American mother that was dropping off her daughter at an elementary school, and when an altercation, occurred with a white woman in the parking lot, and officers were called to the scene. And looking at the video, the officers talked to the white woman first, getting her side of the story before they talked to Ms. Cooks, which is to me a noticeable difference. Take a listen to the soundbite, if you would.
And this lady up there, she's standing up there, she just comes like hauling ass around me and almost hits me on the turn. So I honk, she stops, rolls down her window, she's like, who the hell you think you're honking at? And I said, I'm turning, my blinker's on, you can't drive like that in the parking lot. And she just starts yelling at me, hurries up in front of me, parks right here, all crazy. So then I park, she gets out of her car, and I wasn't going to get out, this isn't her car, she moved it real quick. And then, she gets out of her car, comes over here, punches my window, throws something, whatever that brown thing is, she throws it. She's screaming at me.
Okay.
Miss Anderson is out here. You can ask her.
Okay. Is your window damaged? Anything damaged at all?
No, she scared the hell out of me, and I'm like, I'm calling the police. She's all, call the police. She's screaming at me.
Okay. I don't see right now. I don't see a crime that has been committed. If there was damages, I would give you the opportunity to place her under citizen's arrest if you want. Anything damaged at all?
No, she scared the hell out of me, and I'm like, I'm calling the police. She's all, call the police. She's screaming at me.
Okay. I don't see right now. I don't see a crime that has been committed. If there was damages, I would give you the opportunity to place her under citizen's arrest if you wanted to. I don't see any crime. I'm going to document her name, probably a story. I'm pretty sure she's going to give you a story where, it was your fault and then this and that. But we'll just document that and see where her car is, and we'll go from there. Okay? Is that fair enough? Fair enough? Okay. All right. How you doing, ma'am?
Yeah, I was just dropping my daughter off. I was in this lane where the police cars are. She was honking, so I'm like, roll my window and see what she wants. She was like, you cannot park you cannot drive right here. This is a one-lane thing. So I parked, walked my daughter up in here, and was like, you have a problem? Because you talking to me like I'm your child or something. So then she just acting all scared and stuff because she just, I don't know.
Well, she said you threw some on her car.
No, ain't nobody throw nothing at her car. I had my daughter right there. My daughter was scared.
Okay. What is your name, ma'am?
I'm not giving you my name for
yeah, I actually do have the right to ask you for your name in this case, okay? Okay. Well, how long is it going to be for you to make sure? Okay.
Let me make sure, because I'm not about to get harassed by the police.
Well, you know what, ma'am? I have every right to ask you for your name, okay?
I'm not about to get harassed. Michelle.
Ma'am, no. Michelle what? What is your name?
Let me get the person
Ma'am,
because
I'm gonna
that's her
give you,
employee.
ma'am, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes.
Hello?
Okay, Miss.
They talking about they have to get my name and all that. I don't know because
Okay,
she over
all
here
right,
crying
ma'am.
and stuff.
Just give me your name, please. Give me your name,
I
please.
just told you my name is
No,
Michelle.
no, it's not good
okay,
enough.
well I don't feel comfortable
Okay,
right here.
let's go 15.
No,
Watch
don't.
yourself.
Andre, they about
Watch
to
yourself.
touch me.
Watch yourself, please.
Don't touch
So-
me. Don't touch me.
Ma'am,
Do
please.
not touch me. Do not. I'm pregnant. Do not touch me.
Okay.
Do not touch me. What the is going on? Do not touch me.
No,
This is ridiculous. What are you doing?
for 15.
What are you doing?
Ma'am, please.
Okay, so I'm pregnant. Please, I'm pregnant. Please.
So why are you resisting, then? Why are you resisting, please?
Bill, did you notice a difference in which the officers approach each one of the women?
I do, but I also noticed the response that each one of the women got. Okay, because we have a tendency to be confrontational when the first thing the police officer say, you have the right to remain silent. Shut up. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to get belligerent and talk about your rights, and you're not going to be treated, you're not going to be nothing. Police are trained to be police, and you're going to have to accept that. I'm not saying that that everything is acceptable, but you have got to get in the position that if it's the police, you need to deport yourself a certain kind of way when you're dealing with them. And there is a difference between when they walk up on white folks and when they walk up on us. There is an expectation that we're going to be confrontational and belligerent.
Okay, but don't you think they should have asked the first woman, the white woman, her name and ID as well, Brenda? I mean, being fair.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, they should have. But I think the interesting part when you listen to that audio is that the cop had already concluded that no crime
There
had
you
been
go.
committed.
Judgment had already been
So
passed.
at that point, there was no investigation, so she really didn't need to provide her name to the cop.
Well, according to California law, according to the ACLU, she didn't have to give her name or anything, and it was interesting that she knew the law, and also too her Fourth Amendment right. She didn't have to, so the officer, to me, should have known that,
Right.
and and said okay, and she gave her first name. So why did she give her full name?
Because he asked for it.
Right.
But it was her right not to give it.
But it's just also advantageous for you to give it.
But don't you?
Think
Brittany?
about this. If you're an offender bender, something very small, they're going to come to you. If I call the officer, they already have my name and information. I called them. The woman had already called them, so we already had her information.
Okay.
The white woman did. And they're going to ask you for both sides. They're going to go to the person who called first and talk to them first, just because they called. If Charlene or Michelle would have called first, they would have went to her first because she was the person to call the police
Right.
first. So I don't think he was being unfair to going to her, the white woman first. That was already, she called first. If you're an offender bender, they're going to ask for that side of the story, that side of the story, ask for your full name, just out of, protocol.
Right, but like Brandon said, it appears they had already passed judgment on her, and
Right.
I would think that they would have gotten her side of the story before they, started all this. Getting into this
Right.
altercation with her.
They tried. He asked for her name, and I feel like he was going to get her side of the story. I agree with what you said. I think it's the response. There's already a negative wall between African Americans and law enforcement. Not all, but many. And so when that wall is already there, there's already going to be confrontation. And there shouldn't be. She could have just said, here's my name, here's my address, here's what happened. Whatever you need from me, here's what happened. Because he already gave her the benefit of the doubt and saying nothing criminal happened here. She wasn't going to be in trouble
Right.
to begin with. She didn't know that, but she was not going to be in trouble. So there has to be a cultural change in the way that we approach police, the way that we respond to them. You can't change his response
Right.
or anyone else's. You can't control their response, how they approach you. It's not going to be fair. I want us to stop thinking things are going to be fair all the time. You know what I mean?
So if she was exercising her right to not give him her name, according to the ACLU, she didn't have to, and had been a little calmer. Do you all think things would have turned out differently?
I think that they would have, but again, just for the sake of de-escalating, she went from this to another stage to the point that she's hollering and screaming, don't touch me, don't do this, I'm pregnant. But It just escalated with her. It did not de-escalate.
But shouldn't the officer have exercised some safety as well, being that she was
I was
pregnant?
going to say,
I agree with that.
It seemed like the officer was the one who escalated the situation.
Yeah.
You
Because
know,
I think he got PO'd because she was
Yeah.
exercising her right.
and that happens more often than not when you see, somebody who stands tall and says, look, you're not going to trample my rights. That's normally when the confrontation arises because, then it's almost like, the police tend to feel some sort of way about it. So I actually commend her,
Right.
for standing up and saying, look, this is my constitutional right. You're not going to trample on my constitutional right. And, the officer should have, I think, could have done a little bit better communicating and said, hey, we've already concluded that there's not a crime. So, we just need this basic information for the report, in case there's any damage, and then you can go about your business. But I think he approached it in a way where it was like, he had already made up his mind as far as who was responsible or not responsible. And then, she reacted accordingly.
But she said, I agree with you. She said, you told the officer, you're not going to harass me. Now, that may have made him a little PO that, okay, I'm an officer, you're going to do what the heck I say.
Which is the way it's supposed to go. And you don't get your rights adjudicated on the sidewalk.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I disagree with you on that.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
okay.
That's not the way
I'm
it's supposed to go.
trying to say that we're not talking about what's supposed to go.
If I'm
Right.
exercising my right, then you need to figure out another way to approach this.
Okay, but
We
when
know
it-
it's
being an
not
officer.
fair. Like, we
Yeah.
know it's not fair. And so I think if I'm a pregnant woman in front of my child's school, I'm not going to give him the opportunity to harass me. I'm not going to give him the chance to shoot me in front of my child's school. You know what I mean?
What was the
If
outcome?
it got there.
Okay.
You know what I
What-
mean?
what
I'm
was the
going to
outcome?
give him what he needs so I can leave because I'm pregnant and I don't want you to touch me.
Right.
So I know it's not fair. I can deal with the fair later. I want to do what I can do so that if
Right,
it does go
for
to court,
safety.
I can say I gave him what he needed. He
Right.
still harassed me, and then we'll talk about it. Not here in this anger state. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If I'm a pregnant woman, I do not want something to happen to me for my or my child's safety. I know it frustrates us to have not to be doing the right thing and still get came at crazy. I know it does, but we have to figure out a way to deal with it right then and there in a calm situation and deal with the rest later. Because if not, we're going to continue to have people in situations like this. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm glad she stood up for her own rights and knew her rights.
Right, and was able to get that on the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that could have gone 0 to 100, as we've seen for the last all these months.
Right.
You know, it happened forever, but technology makes it real now. For us. But he could have shot her. He could have done anything. I'm also
Well,
not
I think
very clear.
I think taking her down, being pregnant like
Absolutely
that on her
ridiculous.
stomach,
Absolutely ridiculous.
endangered her child, her
Agreed.
and her child. So
Agreed.
we got Scotty on line one. Hi, Scotty. How are you?
I'm not gonna complain, Tanya. Greetings to you. Greetings to the panel. I'm just. I don't know. Maybe because I'm not gonna say no crazy stuff about people putting their life on the line for our freedoms and our liberties and fighting for our rights and all this. But it just seemed that there's a segment of black people, for whatever reason, that are just so quick to just submit to a system that has been oppressing them for hundreds of years. How can we turn around and demonize the victim? This is victim blaming that I'm hearing. She did nothing wrong. The cop even said there was no crime.
Right.
The law says she doesn't have. Y'all don't know if that woman had a whole bunch of tickets. That area could be like Ferguson, just locking up people and throwing warrants out on. Y'all don't know. Maybe she had warrants and she didn't feel like going to prison that day or going to jail that day, and she was within her rights not to submit to no search, no
I agree.
seizure, or give her name.
I agree. 100%.
I mean, are we going to do that with our voting rights when we come up against oppositions in these individual states? Oh, man, they don't want us to vote. They don't want us to exercise our rights. Let's just not stand up.
I agree with you, Scotty. 100%. 100%. Tell everybody when you listen to your show.
Check us out tonight on New Abolitionist Radio to hear about 21st century slavery and human trafficking on blacktalkradionetwork.com. Thank you.
Thank you, friend. Brand, I'm going to turn to you. Well, how could exercising her right, how could she have, if she said, okay, I'm not going to give this to you and handle this differently and still exercise her right?
I'm not really sure there is any other way. I mean,
Okay.
either she was going to give him the information, and violate her right, or she was not. and then, what happens. The idea, though, I think that it would go and, it would go to court and be adjudicated. I'm sure it went to state or local court and didn't go to federal court. So that, the issue of, the Constitution was not even in question.
Right.
So, this wasn't like she went to court and, was found, that her rights weren't trampled.
The charges, whatever it is, they dropped it. The judge dropped it.
Right. The judge dropped the, I think, the resisting arrest.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. But, there was never any adjudication about, her constitutional rights in this matter. So, I'm not sure that she really could have done anything different outside of, giving him the information that he wanted. And, I guess, that's kind of a slippery slope.
But the outcome is the same. She ended up handcuffed and taken away.
Yeah, that's the part that bothers me so much. I mean,
Well,
you're
a lot
like
of
Scott said,
times
you're exercising your right, but you still end up, being harassed anyway. Like you said, Brittany shot, and in this particular case, she was taken down on her stomach. The child is healthy, but what if it wasn't as a result of this situation? That's the part that bothers me.
Right.
Because you're exercising your rights. So are we saying that we have no rights? That's basically what it boils down to.
Well, again.
And the white
you
woman
walk-
just
you
walked
walk
away.
up-
I don't care if she did give her information when the call was, put in. Whatever officer responded to me, they should have asked her for her name and all of that too at the same time, equal across the board as well before getting her story and like you said, Brenda, passing judgment. That's how I feel about it.
I still think the outcome is the same. You can't walk into that situation with a chip on your shoulder talking about my rights when this officer is trained and there to do a certain job and putting up with something that he doesn't know what the outcome is going to be. He's going to act accordingly.
Okay.
And a lot of times we put ourselves in positions when you can de-escalate it yourself. You de-escalate yourself and de-escalate the situation. Now, if you do that and then exercise your right to shut up, to remain silent until you get into position to exercise your right, but you can't do it on the street with a police officer that's already decided to do something.
And then what we're saying that it's still racist then.
Well, I mean, that's a part of the problem.
And the bottom line question then is, what is the duty of police?
Right.
Is the duty of police to protect us and to uphold the law and enforce the law, or is it to act how they want to act in whatever the situation is?
Hold that thought. We take a break and be right back.
In case you have fallen by the wayside of life, dreams and visions shattered, you're all broken inside. You don't have to stay in the shape that you're in. The potter wants to put you back together again. Oh, the potter wants to put you back together again. In case your situation has turned upside down, and all that you've accomplished is now on the
It's now time for Tanya's tips.
This is Tanya Free. Are you viewed as an on-time person, or do you have the reputation of always being late? Being fashionably late is not really a fashion statement, but really a statement of your character and dependability. Plan to be early to get there on time. Tanya's Tips is sponsored in part this week by the campaign to elect Joe Preston for Senate. Visit josephepreston.com.
Join Tanya Free and friends at tanyafree.com. On air, online, and on point.
What is New Orleans Talk Network? It's today's hottest topics with an added flair. You get ready, because the conversation will be hot, and better yet, mobile. Download the New Orleans Talk Network app, available on Android, iPhone, iPad, and you can listen to us on the web at www.neworleanstalknetwork.com. Write down our talk line at 504-341-TALK. That's 504-341-8255. Interactive and worldwide. That's what we are. Join in on the real conversation and tell a friend about the New Orleans Talk Network.
Join the conversation. Phone lines are open right now. Give Tanya a call at 804-321-1010 in Central Virginia and 844-321-1010 toll-free coast to coast. That's toll-free 844-321-1010.
I want to welcome my friend Pete Chavis joining us in this segment. How are you?
I'm extraordinary, thank you.
Oh, wonderful. We like that.
I like that word.
Well, you know, we've been talking about the young lady that was taken down by the police, the pregnant woman that was taken down, African-American woman that's taken down by the police officer. And we were during a break. So tell everybody where you stand with the situation.
Well, I believe that excessive force was used. I don't think the amount of force that was used was necessary. However, I feel that there are a lot of elements to this incident, and some elements should be examined and should be dialogued about because it's become an epidemic in our country. And what needs to be done, I don't know. I think it takes collective effort to have a serious conversation about these things.
Right, and once again, like I said, the young lady gave her first name. And to me, that should have been sufficient. It did not warrant them taking her down the way they did. And I think, Brittany, you said that possibly she could have had some warrants or what have you. Well, why didn't they check the white woman to see if she had any warrants?
Hey, they all could have had warrants.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a good point. Let's go to the phone. Ethia from Greenville, South Carolina, is with us. How are you?
Better and better. And yourself?
I'm doing wonderful.
Good. First of all, let's get some accurate language here. That woman wasn't taken down. She was assaulted.
Okay.
I think that to use accurate language helps us to put this whole business into its proper perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, she was assaulted, which was unprofessional and in addition to being unconstitutional behavior on the part of the cop or cops involved. That's number one. Number two is that as professionals, it was their duty to de-escalate the situation. And if they had in fact been doing their job, the situation level of tension and the exchange that resulted between them would not have happened between the cop and the woman who was assaulted, would not have happened in the first place. As for the adjudication of her constitutional rights were adjudicated by the judge when the case was dismissed, because the judge dismissed the case on the basis that the cop had no authority to relate to her on that level beyond the investigation of the accident, and that he had exceeded his authority, and therefore she was justified in her behavior. So I fully expect her to bring a civil suit, which she will win, and they will settle it, and theoretically it'll be all over. The problem is, first of all, the second wrong question is not whether or not she should have de-escalated. He should never have escalated.
Right.
And we must always all say no when our rights are threatened. The slippery slope of convenience is what has gotten us to this point. It has never been that the cops have not disrespected us and violated our rights, but they have been more circumspect in doing so. So the moment that we start acquiescing is the point at which they begin to regress and aggress. As Benjamin Franklin said, any people who would give up a little freedom for security will receive and deserve neither. And we know that we cannot be tenuous about that. So I would close with the lines from the last poets, and that is, blessed are those who struggle. Oppression is worse than the grave. Better to die for a noble cause than to live and die a slave. And I would add, Dr. Martin Luther King, if you haven't found something that you're prepared to die for, then you aren't fit to live. Every one of us must say no whenever, however, we are confronted with the question of our rights. This notion that it's going to be settled in the courts. If you haven't been reading the newspaper, just watch the news.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. We appreciate that. What do you all think about that? Pete?
I think a good run is better than a bad stand. Is when you.
Well, still running, you still get killed.
Well, the same thing. She still got thrown down to the ground on her infant.
Well, I commend her for standing. I commend her for standing her ground, though.
I don't think anyone here is going to say, don't stand up for yourself, or we don't respect her for standing up for herself and knowing her rights. I think the goal here is to have everyone to know their rights, to be able to do that.
Right.
But it's just the way that you do that. And I know it's not fair. It doesn't make sense. We shouldn't have to, act differently. But we know that's not our case. Mm-hmm. We're always going to act a little bit different, try a little bit harder, do something in a different way, because that's how it's been. I'm not saying it's right, but we just have to figure out a way to not have that tone and that defense about us when it comes to officers. Do what you have to do. Stand up for yourself. Be calm. Be collected. And say, if at that point, if something happens, that is on them. It's not on you anymore. You know what I mean?
I think, Pete, you said it, our approach.
Yeah, I'm a believer that wisdom is always a great thing.
Yes.
And alluding to what Mr. Johnson has spoken about, positioning. Positioning is everything. It's good to stand up, and yeah, you need to stand up. If I'm facing a bear, do I need to stand up? Well, I need to use wisdom so that I can be in a position to stand up. And in the reality that we live in the days and times that we live in, wisdom is something that we constantly have to use.
And we cannot assume that even though police officers are supposed to be professionals, that they have the couth that go along with it. You have to sit there and evaluate who you're dealing with. And if you've got somebody that you know have been too long got off the apple cart, you can't stand there and confront that guy. You've got to pick your balance with that. And we've got to pay attention with that. Now, what we are going through with the police culture, okay, and what we are dealing with today, we are dealing with it now because we're bringing attention to it. They are beginning to defund it and everything, and we are beginning to address that. But this is not new.
Oh, I know it's not new.
And so you stand there putting your fetus on the line for your rights. You got to protect yourself.
Yeah, but I think had she not been fighting and said, okay, my name is Michelle, and just stood her ground,
Right.
opposed to overreacting,
calm,
then the officers, it was clear that the officers would have been, you could see clearly that they were escalating the whole thing. That they, in my opinion, what they did, they wrestled her to the ground when she was trying to stand her ground. That's the way I said. Let me go to the phone. A.O. from Pennsylvania, how are you?
All right, Tanya, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Let me get right to my point. I think all of you fail to realize that person, that lady, could have been any one of you.
Oh, absolutely.
In reality,
Oh, absolutely.
We're aware of that.
In reality, white people are being programmed every day on TV, just like black people are. And white people's program is to fear. Black people's program is to react. And they followed suit.
Well, how do you think she should have reacted? Or how do you think it should have?
I think she should have rode her car window up, put her license in the window, and said nothing. There was no crime committed. She allowed herself to be victimized when she got emotional.
Right.
See, in a decision that may literally escalate to life or death, the person spoke about wisdom. In reality, the wisdom of that circumstance would have been to give them minimal. Because she did. Just gave them her first name. Yeah, but the reality is she got emotional, which set them off. You have to understand, people have buttons, and when you hit that button, just like those cops are, listen, their program is fear. Isn't that what you hear as soon as they kill somebody? Oh, I feared for my life. How could you fear for your life when you're the one with the gun? Let's wake up. We have to realize this above all else. At any time, especially nowadays, since the passing of the Patriot Act and the NDAA Act, at any time when the police department confronts us, it can escalate to a position of death. And don't take that lightly. I teach young men every day in my juvenile sections that times of your parents are gone. Don't think for a minute that you got a right to say, excuse me, officer, what is the charge? Because guess what? At this day and age, it's all about his emotion. If that officer is emotionally charged, he can wreck your life. Okay. And we have to understand that. And stop being docile. The reality is, acting white is not going to be a solution for you. Because when they pull you over, you black. I love you. Take care.
and you heard something he said.
Thank you, A.O. We appreciate that.
The white woman that called the police.
Right.
I was afraid.
Right.
That is the new dog whistle. I'm afraid. How in the world can a police officer with everything, plus backup, plus Humvees, afraid for what? You should be pulled off the street. If you are afraid, it's just crazy. It's the new dog whistle that we need to be aware of.
You're right, the word afraid. You're absolutely right. We're going to go to the line 2. We got Salim. How are you?
Oh, I'm ready for revolution. How are you?
We're doing well. We're doing
All
well.
right. Well, my thing is, if you're stopped one of the things is I always say, I'm running in the ground on your show. If you think you're free, when those lights get behind you, either don't stop or once you stop, talk slick or start talking about what your rights are. Because many of us are delusional about these rights things. You have no rights when you're African, which whites are bound to respect. Supreme Court jurist Tanya made that clear in 1896, but we don't get it. And so I just say you're still enslaved or viewed as slaves or the other or less than. You got to live to fight another day, and you need to know how to survive your encounters with law enforcement. If that had been Mr. Johnson or Mr. Wesley or Mr. Freedom, we would have been dead from that encounter. So we can play around and think that we're Americans and all of that. If we're that delusional, the idea is to survive the encounter. And, you can fight in court, you can fight in the streets, you can be revolutionary, reformist, or whatever. But you don't want to die on the street in your car or running from the law and that kind of stuff. Survive the encounter, live to fight another day.
Yeah, because running would definitely get you killed, no question about that. Celine, tell everybody when we listen to your show.
They can listen to us Monday on the Heart and Soul of Richmond, 4 to 6 p.m. Let's Get Busy. And tonight on Comcast TV, Channel 95 and Verizon 36 at 9 to 10 p.m. Let's Get Busy, the TV show.
All righty. Wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
In Richmond, right?
Yes,
There we go.
ma'am.
All righty. Thank you, friend.
All right.
Well, I mean, had, been a brother, possibly they would not be living right now to tell about it.
Well, you can see the disrespect that they showed her.
Right. True.
Being pregnant
they don't care.
Well, how do we change that? That's the part
It's going to be a slow process, and it's changing the culture. Just like I have in my mind about those police officers rolling up because they got a phone call of someone in the park with a gun, a 12-year-old with a toy.
Okay.
They rolled up, and within 12 seconds, he was dead.
Right. You're
You
right.
see what I'm saying? I mean, we have got to pay attention that this is a lethal force out here.
You're right.
And we're going to have to change the culture by bringing awareness to it, and it's not going to be fought with the police officers. Look at how they turned their back on de Blasio in New York.
Right.
Who's
right.
got the
Well,
authority?
look at what's going on in Baltimore.
Yeah, they
that's
slowed down.
That's worse.
You see what I'm saying? So,
yeah, and the number of murders are unbelievable.
Because they won't go out there now. It's
Right.
like, well, we're too afraid to go out there. What?
Yeah.
That's your job.
That's true. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
There's a difference between my wife's anger in public and mine. Okay? Generally, it was advantageous for me to let her go ahead on and deal with the situation because they're going to deal with her differently than me, but they'll be looking over her shoulder at me to just see how crazy I'm going to get. And I don't have to get crazy because she's doing it for both of us.
Okay.
And she gets responded to differently.
Go ahead, dear. You see, you let her do it, huh?
Oh, handle it, baby.
Well, let's go to the phone. Earl, how are you, friend?
I'm doing just great, and it's a great discussion. I guess where y'all have taken me is that the police that's creating the situation is black and white, so it's not that we just need to have new black cops. Then the question was, do they need to be good cops? I'm in agreement with that. Then it comes down when I look at the DA in Baltimore, Maryland, who is right now is to me is a very vital is in a very vital situation for us as America, because that's showing where we're at. If the good police officers know that there's bad cops, they should be supporting her. If the good police who's saying they're being characterized as bad cops, it's because they are rallying around the bad cops' behavior from not being rejected. So it comes down to me, trust. So where's the trust?
Right.
The trust comes from either the community having some type of oversight panel or some type of neutral body to be able to review the procedures and processes in order for it to be resolved. Otherwise, we're just talking in circles because we don't get past the trust factor, the transparency factor. We're dealing with now is black and white, which we know because the Fraternal Order of Police in Baltimore is coming off of all 6 of them. So we look at the symptom. Then we look at the code of silence. Then we look at, we won't put a brush, like I said, and being redundant on all cops. Well, the good cops, well, whether it's in police officing or whether it's in legislation, because y'all talked about politics too, if the good ones don't take the stand that they have an opportunity to now because you have a DA doing something that's never been done before, when will they do it?
Right.
This is their cover. You see, and so by them fighting in the way that they're fighting, and as you stated about in New York, them turning their back on de Blasio and him just being a father of an African-American son, you see what I'm saying? And their reaction was, see, so our mindset.
Right.
And until the good cops who said they're good cops take a stand, don't be fooled by what's going on, because the ball lies with them.
Okay, thank you, Earl. We got to go to our Black Talk commentary. Listen.
More than 200 protesters, some armed with semi-automatic rifles, surrounded an Arizona mosque to curse Islam and its prophet Muhammad in Phoenix. White men, some of them obviously members of a biker gang, and heavily armed, curse words at Muslims and anti-hate demonstrators that had gathered to counter-demonstrate. Anti-Islam demonstrators hypocritically claim to be expressing their First Amendment and Second Amendment rights to deny First Amendment protections to Muslims to practice their religion in America. Phoenix police assisted in the oppression of the Muslims by not arresting heavily armed angry men who engaged in a criminal offense of menacing. Menacing can refer to a few different crimes, all of which share the following characteristics. The suspect has placed the victim in fear of imminent, immediate bodily harm or unwanted physical contact, or has attempted or threatened to hurt the victim. Usually no injury or physical contact is required. Menacing is also an assault. In some states, menacing is just another way of describing an assault, attempting to hit or hurt someone or placing another in fear of imminent bodily harm or offensive contact. For example, throwing a punch at someone could result in menacing charges, even if the person is not actually hit. Yelling threats at someone or even looking at someone while making threatening gestures could also be considered menacing, especially when firearms are involved. For example, a person who waves a gun around could be convicted of menacing. There are a number of options under menacing laws that prosecutors could use to protect the civil rights and liberties of all its citizens. By doing nothing, the city of Phoenix endorsed behavior that is straight out of the 1950s and current treatment of black people, but this time the targets were Muslims. What must happen before the FBI and Department of Justice get involved? Must a mosque bombing occur that claims the lives of 4 little Muslim girls before the federal government does its job in protecting all its citizens? This has been Scotty Reed with your Black Talk Radio Weekly Commentary. Visit me on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
This is Tanya Free. If it's Monday, it's time for Let's Get Busy with your host, King Salim Kalfani, 4 to 6 p.m. here on the heart and soul of the city, WCLM 1450 AM. Kick off the week with KSK, Commonwealth Consultation, LLC, for 2 power-packed hours of news you can use, featured guests, cutting-edge commentary, and more. Let's get busy with King Salim Kalfani every Monday at 4.
Is Delegate Betsy Carr a Republican or a Democrat? If you check her voting record at richmondsunlight.com, you'll find out that she voted against Medicaid expansion. She voted to take money away from our schools and co-partnered 50% of the Republican bills. Delegate Betsy Carr has a record of voting against Democrats, and now she wants the Democrats to vote for her. Enough is enough. This is what you can do on June 9th. Vote for P.T. Brown, who will stand up for our schools. He will fight for a minimum wage increase. He will support restoration of rights. He will be there for you. So vote June 9th for the real Democrat.
This is Preston Brown, and it's no secret that some of the Democrats crossed the line. The problem is when they cross the line, they don't bring anything back. I promise you, if I cross the line, I will bring something back for the Democrats. On June the 9th, I ask for your support. A vote for me is a vote for you. Paid for and authorized by Brown for House of Delegates.
WCLM 1450 AM, Highland Springs, Richmond. The soul of the city is WCLM 1450 AM.
This is Tanya Free. Our parents and grandparents depended on newspapers and network anchor news for the news of the day. Social media, digital media, and cable news has changed the way we consume journalism in 2015. How about you? How do you get your news on the go?
Tanya's Question of the Week is sponsored by the campaign to elect Jerry Rawlinson for the 63rd District House of Delegates. Contact me, Jerry Rawlinson, at 804-238-4281.
Join the conversation. Phone lines are open right now. Give Tanya a call at 804-321-1010 in Central Virginia and 844-321-1010 toll-free coast to coast. That's toll-free 844-321-1010.
Scotty, commentary take us to where we're going to go now. Talking about a rally that happened, I think it was last week. Anti-Islam protesters rally outside the Arizona mosque called a freedom of speech rally last week. The organizer, wearing a T-shirt saying "F Islam," encouraged protesters to bring guns just in case their First Amendment right, freedom of speech rights, came under attack. Some of the counter-protesters wore T-shirts that said "Love thy neighbor." Worshippers were warned to stay away from the mosque over fears that it would, be violence. But I like what the Muslim leaders said. They knew their religious freedom rights, and they were not intimidated. My question is this: now, compared to the protests that was in Ferguson and Baltimore, we didn't bring guns or anything like that. Where were the, combat gear law enforcement at this particular event? I didn't see that. How did they get treated differently? They were bringing guns and all that. Because I saw one of the main media reporters interview someone that was there wearing a gun. He had one on his hip and had another one in his pocket. Now, had that been us in Baltimore and we had said, bring guns, what do you all think would have happened?
We kind of know what would have happened.
Well, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, we know what would happen, but we can't expect to be treated the same way that the president is speaking and the right to bear arms people are there with him. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't do that. They didn't do that with George Bush. So there is a very different way that you're looked at and treated, and there is an expectation. Even though it don't come to fruition, it is an expectation that we're going to do that.
Where does it stop, though? If we
No,
say
not
if
now,
we say
not
we
today.
have rights, how come we cannot exercise our rights like everyone else?
Well, that's
Because it's going to always be a struggle for us to do that, and it's going to be a struggle for any depressed people to do that. The key, again, is a change in the way that we view ourselves. And until we do that, we're going to be sitting here on your wonderful show talking about all these different incidents that keep popping up. And that is what it is. That is the reality of it. That's how we stop it. We
And
come
there is
together as a people.
There is an awareness now. If you're Muslim, you're expected to be ISIS. They are gearing up and gearing for and looking at and looking out for Muslims.
But did you hear what they said? The leader said, we are not going to be intimidated. We are going to exercise our religious freedom.
Right.
End of story.
Right.
And they showed up, showed out, and moved forward. Guns, regardless of that.
Right.
We need to take something from them and do the same thing.
Well, across the street, and let's understand, they have nationalism on their side. Okay? We don't have that. We're from here. We don't have countries and diplomats and ambassadors from other nations backing us up. We don't
And
have.
we didn't in the 60s either.
Yeah, we didn't. Okay, but what's
And
the
look how
difference from
far
this-
we are now.
Look at how far we are from now, but then how far back, how many steps backwards have we taken? You
And
understand
why
what I'm
is
saying?
that?
That's just a difference between.
Why is that? I agree with Pete. Is how we look at ourselves.
Right.
And allow people to back us up.
Yeah, but all of us don't look at ourselves the same way.
No.
We don't. We're not all the same people. We're not a homogeneous people, even as African Americans. We're not. We are.
We are not a united people.
Well,
That's
no,
really what you're
no
saying.
people is a united people. You can't get some of these folk living in D.C. and are culturalized to identify with the Duck Dynasty people. You're just not going to get them to do it. They're going to look at themselves differently. There are people who separate themselves within their own groups. That's nothing unique about us.
Right, I understand that.
We have become westernized. But what we have to do is take responsibility for pulling as many of our own up out of the mire of ignorance and poverty.
There you go.
Within our own ranks. You know, we were talking about some of the things that we can get done. The largest economic opportunity that we have is the money we put into the black church. Where is that money? How come that money isn't flowing back into our neighborhoods? You see what I'm saying? To create a better life within the communities. The people that's in the church don't even live there. And they don't, and you know, they come there to worship, but after 1:30, they at Piccadilly and they gone.
And that's a good question. That is a
You know
good
what I'm saying?
question.
And these are the types of things we need to be looking at. We fought for civil rights. But how many people exercise those civil rights by registering to vote? Right. And don't vote for the showboat, vote for the tugboat. Somebody's going to get some things done.
Okay, there you go. Absolutely. Okay. What do you think, Brandon?
Well, I mean, going back to Arizona, I think it's interesting, or I would like to know, I guess, how much the government was involved, because you know, somebody had to get a permit and somebody had to approve that permit, and so you know, when we started to talk about First Amendment rights, I just find it very ironic that, you know, on the one hand, it's like, oh, we're exercising our First Amendment rights by, you know, stopping these people from exercising their First Amendment right.
Right.
And then the other piece to it is that, you know, the First Amendment has never covered, you know, offensive speech or hate speech. Right. So, you know, at what point
And
is
they got away with it.
Well, right.
They got away with it.
And
with guns.
Well, see, I mean, the
NRA.
Yeah, I mean, you can
right.
You can,
exactly.
But
exactly.
I mean,
It's Arizona.
Constitutionally, you can assemble with
Okay.
guns. I mean,
All
you
right.
can
So
exercise your right.
if we want to assemble
Right.
in Baltimore, we can bring guns.
Yes.
Right.
We can
Okay.
do it.
So what do you
Peacefully
like? I
with
said.
guns.
Well, like I said, if we were to bring guns to the next time we in Baltimore and we decide we're gonna bring guns, what do you think would happen? Who do you think would show up?
National
Bill
Guard.
Johnson. I'm
We
gonna
would be
get this
dead as
megabus
a
ticket.
doorknob.
I ain't gonna be there.
National Guard.
Right. And I didn't see any National Guard at this event.
Right.
But the gentleman who a few months ago was grazing his cattle on federal lands, owes the government about $1.2 million for illegally grazing the cattle, was just on the news 2 days ago. Still talk about, well, black folks would probably be doing better in slavery than they are now with the handouts that they're getting in public housing. When we get a smaller percentage than white folks
I
are
was gonna
getting.
say that.
You see what I'm
The
saying?
smaller
But and you got to understand, there's a different mentality when you start to going west and they get in the heartlands where those folk live and the way they think, you know, versus us. Baltimore with guns.
What I'm saying is the way we are treated, which we all know, we're treated differently. But the fact of the matter is they came in there, put an F on the shirt, and you know, and take it this direction. In Waco, we talked about last week. That was in the news like maybe 2 or 3 days. And they killed 9 people. You didn't see officers with their combat gear like they were in Baltimore or Ferguson. Why is that?
Well, we can't fight that fight. I mean, Martin Luther King changed the whole way that we looked at the world through nonviolence. They wouldn't even tolerate having a gun because they know that would give those people the free reign. The free reign to do that, to use that, and you cannot compete. You cannot compete once they have a justification to pull their guns out because you've got yours.
Okay, James wants to know who the hell is this we that I keep talking about. I'm talking about our people. That's what I keep talking about, our people, African American community. And Carl wants to know why would society hate black men? Who wants Bill? Go ahead.
I think it's more of a fear than hate when you've oppressed black men the way that we've been oppressed since we got off the boat. It's easy to do. When we've been disenfranchised socially, politically, economically, and psychologically disenfranchised.
I blame a lot on the media too.
Media?
Yeah, but how, like I said, once again, how we are so easily stereotyped.
Well,
I really do. Like I said,
Muslims too, though. You think about
everyone.
on everybody. I
Mexicans
like, well,
too.
Yeah, but
Everybody.
I think we catch it a whole lot worse than any other group. I really do. Like I said,
I think we've done well, and I don't think we've taken the time to tell our story. We have not. We're so busy hollering about being kicked in the teeth. We have not talked about those who have stood up, are standing up, and won't allow anybody to kick us in the teeth. Everybody's not getting kicked in the teeth.
I still say, what's wrong with building our own island? That solves the whole problem.
Oh, no, geez.
Bill, you see, you're not going, huh?
Thank you.
I don't want to be in that part of the stuff. Y'all on the same side. I don't want to do it.
I'm speaking metaphorically here. I don't mean in a physical sense.
But we are.
I mean building our own island as a culture. You have just said about the economic power that we possess, and that is true. Well, we can build our own island in the sense that we can control our destiny.
But we are. We are living in
No,
urban
we're
cities.
not.
Urban centers
No.
centers today are black islands. They are African American islands.
I disagree with you on that.
Okay, but I'm telling you, that's what we are
I
concentrated
support
at.
black business. I really, really do. But I was someplace the other day, and I was like, how other folks, and this was on a weekend, it's on a Sunday, in fact, and how the businesses were thriving. And went over where our people were, and like everything was shut down.
Right.
You know, so I'm like,
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, where are we?
And then it's going to get to the point where people are going to come in and buy it out, and then we're going to get mad about it. And we saw
Right.
it. And I mean, I went to Howard, so DC that I knew is not DC that it is now.
I'm with you.
And it's frustrating. I'm split because part of me is like, I'm so glad to see it being rebuilt and, see these condos and businesses, people riding their bikes in the street. It's great because when we were there,
But
it's
it's
a
not
whole
our
different
people.
place.
It's
But
not our
people.
people.
And
And we can't afford it's high.
frustrating.
Yes.
But then where are we? Why
Right.
aren't we buying the property? Why aren't we
Right.
taking back our
Well,
city?
let's take it a step further right here in our own city. Just
It's
go,
happening.
Just go
You're
right
right.
down, right across the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
You
right.
ain't gotta
To
go that
Churchill.
far. You can go right across the street.
Right by
Right across the
our
street.
Walk across
Yeah.
the street. Coming up
Across
the
the
street.
street.
It's coming up
Right.
the street.
Yeah.
And they are riding bikes like it's nobody
Walking
business.
the dog.
Yeah.
So don't you know that Omar's out there?
Hey, look.
Oh, my.
Look.
Well, and the thing is, they're not afraid of Omar,
They're not afraid of
because
Omar.
they
Oh,
already
no.
know, just like the situation we just talked about earlier with the white woman, and because they already know when the cops show up, who's gonna go to jail?
That's right.
Or who's gonna go to get wrestled down to the ground?
right.
That perception or whatever you want to call it has already been set.
But again, we already are put on islands. We are set in urban centers. We are there, but we are not voting. We are not putting up
That's
candidates.
what it is.
We're not supporting candidates. We're not making our issues aware.
We're not at the table.
That's right. Our
That's
school system is not changing. The policies are not changing because we are not asking for the things that we need to make our communities better.
And let me say this: everybody that looks like us is not for us.
Or
That's our big
us.
problem. We want to support folks, and they say a few words, but we don't actually go to see if they are actually representing us in our best interest. We got to do better.
Right.
We got to do way
And
better.
it's more than skin color.
It is.
You know,
Oh, heck yeah.
When Obama, President Obama was running, I wasn't on his side from the beginning. I almost
Well,
knew that Hillary was
I ain't
going to
real
get it.
happy about him right now. Well, I ain't
Well,
jumping
I
up.
am. I'm
not,
extremely happy about it.
I'm not jumping up and down about Hillary either.
I don't put all my eggs in no one basket. I look at how can this person do. I can't expect this man to put up a health care bill that will benefit us to the max. And our teachers and our preachers and our leaders are not going to the tables and overwhelmingly take advantage of that opportunity. You don't blame it on Obama. He's laid it there for you. But he got to get you to come there and eat it too.
Well, even before that, then you take it a step further in the last, congressional election when our numbers were down and we didn't vote for
At all.
State legislature
Exactly.
and we didn't vote for Congress.
Yep.
Right.
And those are the people making the laws.
That's the decision.
You know,
Right.
it's not Obama. The only thing Obama's doing is when it comes to the desk, he's signing it.
Exactly.
Or vetoing
Or
it.
vetoing
Right,
it.
vetoing it, right.
So at the point that we're not even aware of the candidates, I mean, I would say that when people voted for Obama, most were not aware of even where Obama was on most
exactly.
of the,
That's
the
true.
issues because it's Obama.
He's black.
And
Well, let's take a break. Hold that thought. Take a break and be right back. And this next election.
Don't you let those other boys fool you. Gotta love that Afro hairdo. Maybe sometimes we feel afraid, but it's alright. The more you stay, the
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, William Andre Brimmers III, and we're here this week with another edition of Will Wednesdays. Look, we're here to talk about perseverance this week. Everything that you do in life is going to come with obstacles. It's going to come with a challenge. It's going to come with a certain level of barriers that you need to overcome. But all you have to do is just persevere. Just push through. Just continue to just strive and just go after what it is that you want to go after. It'll be all right. Trust and believe that the process is going to allow you to see progress. Just persevere. Look, if you're looking for any more inspiration, make sure you check me out on Instagram at ColdWinners. Make sure you follow me. That's ColdWinners. Check us out on www.bucksandbanks.com. And also check us out at www.tanyafree.com each and every Wednesday. Have a wonderful day.
You're listening to AM/FM 247, music you love from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Best talk radio all day and every day.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend. The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-918-7169. 800-918-7169. 800-918-7169. That's 800-918-7169.
Join the conversation. Phone lines are open right now. Give Tanya a call at 804-321-1010 in Central Virginia and 844-321-1010 toll-free coast to coast. That's toll-free 844-321-1010.
I want to ask Lester in Tampa and Real Brother in LA to give us a call. Phone lines are open, 844-321-1010. I think you all have been talking to Antoinette and social media, so give us a call and let us know what you think about the situation. But going back to the Muslims situation, I had a piece on, I think on site, where this Muslim woman was on a plane, and they would not give her a open canned soda because they thought the cap, some kind of way, could be used as a weapon. And right across from her, they had given a man a unopened bottle of beer, and she wanted to know, what's the reason that she couldn't get an unopened can of soda. And the stewardess told her that because she can use it as a weapon. Now, how crazy is that? Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy as all get out.
Is there any, playing devil's advocate, just a question, is there any law on a plane saying that you can't open someone's alcohol versus the juice? Just asking, because
right, that's
I know
a good
when I'm
question.
on a plane,
That's a good
they
question.
always open the cans of soda and juice and pour it in the cup for you and give you the open can. So I've never seen them not do that for juices and sodas, but I have seen them, I believe, give people the wine, the beer, or
Right.
the liquor unopened. So I'm just saying, not saying that there wasn't still a reason for her, being targeted for that reason, but I just wanted to know if there was, anything that's stipulated that's actually how it's supposed to be done or not done.
Well, my thing is, if she asked for an unopened can of soda, why not just give her the unopened can of soda? Why do you feel you need to pour it if she want an unopened can of soda? That's the thing
Now,
I can't understand.
Was this the head person that's running that operation, or did she appeal to the supervisor?
I don't know. I didn't research
this
it that
is the
far.
thing. When you've got that kind of problem, just like standing up for your rights, you appeal to a higher authority, and she could have done that on the plane, because we can't act like people who are doing certain jobs are rocket scientists.
Right.
Some of these people, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they just fill in the gap. And they're bringing their prejudices and their insecurities along with them when they come. So this is a situation that made news, but here again, we've got to raise the bar on the people who serve us. And
But the
people
excuse
allow-
is being that it could be used as a weapon. Don't you think that's discriminatory?
Well, I think
Straight up.
that's just
it's
just
silly.
just
Right.
an excuse.
It just doesn't make sense.
And not
just
to
to
mention
be confrontational.
And let's not pretend like she wasn't, like TSA and Department of Homeland Security hadn't scanned her and run her through the system before she got on the plane. So I mean, to even, I guess, assume that because she was Muslim that she could somehow, Jack Bauer this soda can into some, fancy weapon that was gonna, infiltrate the cockpit and bring the plane down. I think it's ridiculous, and so I'm hoping that she'll, pursue, whatever legal avenue she can, and try to get some justification and some restitution for what happened, because then you hear the other piece to it is that, a bunch of the people on the plane kind of chimed in, and it became
helped her
almost
out,
like,
yeah.
well, no, helped out the stewardess.
No, it's the
Right,
stewardess.
the
And
stewardess,
it was like, basically sit down, da 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 da. I mean, it became almost a mob mentality, like, okay.
Can you imagine having to fly in that type of atmosphere?
Right. And see, the other question is, where was the air marshal?
Right.
Where was the person that should have been? You talk about a higher authority. Somebody was there and kind of just asleep at the wheel.
Dismiss the whole thing.
Asleep at the wheel. And
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Can you imagine being in a situation like that?
No, because I would have took it. I said, okay, cool.
No, they probably would throw you up.
Let me get out and get on the ground. We're going to have some problems. But
Yeah,
but
they're
before then,
reward.
okay, man, keep that, it'd be all
But
right.
let me ask this question. Had it been the woman we talked about earlier, and she, got real,
hostile.
belligerent, yeah.
Then the marshal would have appeared.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Right.
She would have been.
And
It
she
took
would,
her down.
And she would have been taken down and restrained
Immediately.
and carried off the plane in handcuffs. And
Right.
I mean, then it would have been a bigger story, because they, they would have made an emergency landing
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah,
and,
exactly,
the
exactly.
news media would have been there to capture this whole, this whole image of, here's either a black or a Muslim lady in handcuffs, causing a disturbance or, inciting some sort of, violence
Yeah.
behavior.
Right.
On the plane cuts over a soda can.
Right.
Yeah, how you going to turn that into a weapon? What type of weapon? Like you said.
It's like prison in an airplane. I don't understand what they
Exactly.
they thought she was going to do with that.
And see, another thing is when you hear about, recently they released that report about how, like, I think at one airport, 95% of devices and weapons and stuff in the test had gotten through.
Right.
I think
They weren't doing their job at the
at the
checkpoint.
gates,
Right, the
and
gates.
so maybe that
They
has
don't.
something to do with why, this stewardess felt like there was a threat.
But that's not her job. They should have
It's
gotten
not.
that straight before she got there.
I agree, but at the same time, I think it goes to show that there's this whole fallacy of essentially protection and security that's probably not there to the extent that we think it is.
Well, I think the whole culture is looking for boogeymans, and they have a tendency to change. And one day it's you, next day it's me, next day it's somebody
no,
else.
it's always us.
Oh, it is always
No,
us. It is
no.
always going to be us. But I think we buy into a lot of that.
True.
Because I'm gonna tell you,
Our
if
approach,
2 or 3
our response.
young white boys are coming down the street, it's gonna probably take them that minute to deal with me. But one brother with a hood on his head coming down the street, I begin to wonder what is on that boy's mind. And if I cross the street and he cross the street too, I'm looking for somewhere else to be. Trust me, that's just the way I feel about it.
But to think about it, what you just said, how folks see all of us
I
like
see
that.
us
That's
like that too.
Well, see, that's some of the problem. though.
Wait a
If-
minute, Bill.
you
Yes,
know,
I do.
If we make that assumption, if you make that assumption that the three white guys are they're fine and they're not going to do you any harm, but the one for all we know, this kid is a straight A student, like the kid in
right.
Charlottesville.
Go to Howard University,
like the kid
not
that
doing
got
anything.
I
brought down
didn't
by
say
ABC in
that
Charlottesville.
I assumed that they wouldn't do anything. I said it'd probably take that
But you're not
minute to
crossing
deal
the
with
street.
me. You see what I'm saying? But one brother, you see what I'm saying?
Okay, Bill.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
But if it's three white guys and one of them has a gun, it's not going to take any more but the one with the gun to deal
Yeah,
with.
but-
Right.
So
Yeah, try not to misinterpret what I'm saying.
Okay.
I have a less fear of that
Why?
because this is the culture we live in.
No, I think you're buying into the
And
stereotype.
If I was down,
That's
if I
the
was
problem
down
I
in the
have.
bayou, it'd be different. Okay, because I probably wouldn't even slow down. But down there in the fan, I'm not going to be all that concerned. Okay, but certain places I will be on
Okay.
Brooker Park.
I can understand being concerned.
Yeah,
okay,
I'll
I
be
can understand
concerned.
it.
At least
But we have
height
to
of my
change it.
awareness.
Excuse me, Tanya, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that, again, I'm going to bring in this word that I think is extremely powerful. I think wisdom is something that should be practiced no matter where we are.
Okay.
Whether you're downtown Atlanta where there's a policeman on every corner, or if you're in LA, in Hollywood, or wherever you are, wisdom should be used. Because the reality of it is we live in a crazy world.
Right.
And we live in a world where people are disturbed. We are not mind readers. I wish we were. So we have to always use wisdom in watching people. And look, I'm like this. I don't care what color you are. If you look suspicious to me, you look suspicious to
Right.
me.
Exactly.
And I'm going to get ready to do what I need to do, whether it's put it in gear and run, or if I have no choice, to just face you straight up. But whatever it is I have to do, I'm going to get my mindset together.
The 30 murders that that was witnessed in Baltimore. How many are there now for 1 month?
40.
40. Okay.
That's over
A
40.
ridiculous
So what you
number.
trying to say? Okay, this is not the police rolling in on us. Okay,
Right,
this is
okay.
9 times out of 10 not white folks rolling in on
I
us.
got that.
This is us rolling in on us.
Yeah, but I mean, it happens in other places other
I
than.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
Okay.
where I live.
Yeah, but I mean, if we buy into the stereotype that we are afraid of us, what do you think other people feel?
Exactly.
That's the problem. I'm having.
perpetuating
Yeah, I'm
In a lot of
have a hard time
situations,
to-
it's justified.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of us. I'm afraid of anyone who we all possess what we call instinct and an instinctive nature. When the bell of my instinctive nature starts to ring, and I don't care who you are, when that starts to ring, I'm going to err on the side of caution.
Right.
Always.
And it has nothing to do with color, because we know that there are certain people who just blow up everything. They have no regard.
Right.
It's
They don't
not
care who
just
you are.
one.
And
they
that could be
blow
one
up
of the three
everything.
guys you were talking about that you felt comfortable with, opposed to the
I
brother.
didn't say I felt comfortable.
Okay.
I just felt that I less threatened. It would take that minute to deal with
Okay.
me.
Okay. You and I gonna talk about this. Let me go to real brother on line one.
No, Bill's talking about that fear factor.
Thank you.
Hi, real brother.
Thank you
How
for
are
having
you?
me. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the show. Well, I think that we do focus too much on the problem and not the solution. The argument against the hate crime laws have always been that whites would feel that if you killed somebody because they were black, that's the same thing as killing somebody because they tried to rob you at gunpoint. And so the argument against prosecuting cops who beat up pregnant women or they kill murders, break somebody's back, is that, well, that's no different than you did something to me by being born black, so therefore I have a right to kill you. And the problem that we are as black people, who 90% of us think white people are superior, is that they get away with that argument. And that's a dumb argument. There's something, it's more, they killed a terrorist yesterday. He had a big giant machete, and they showed the picture of the machete, right? And the first lie that the officer told us was this was a justified shooting. This was a terrorist. This is different. This wasn't Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray didn't have a big machete. Freddie Gray had a knife that they couldn't see until they patted him down, and it was in his pocket. They didn't have a reason to stop Freddie Gray. This guy's been on the terrorist list for 15 years, calling Yemen, calling Osama bin Laden. That's different.
And I think I
So
heard
what we're
conflicting
saying
stories that he was coming, running from him. Is it back or front?
No, that's not the point, Tanya. The point is that killing him was not Trayvon Martin. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Oh, so I'm saying we're sitting here having a discussion, making excuses, like Scotty Reed said, where we would say you ain't acting white or whatever.
No,
brother,
I wasn't making excuses. I wasn't making excuses. I was saying the officer's story was conflicting. That's what I was saying.
That's what I was saying.
Right. Well, the officer, the Homeland Security police officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to make the connection that okay, this is why we justify killing this guy. Right, because he's trying to blow up the Boston Marathon. Well, I understand that. Freddie Gray wasn't trying to blow up the Boston Marathon. Trayvon Martin wasn't trying to. Eric Gardner wasn't trying to blow up the marathon, and you killed them. And the other point that you made, Tanya, that was a terrible point that you guys were making, is that Freddie Gray was arrested 19 times. Eric Gardner was arrested however many times, 13, 14 times. So the police officers, for however stupid they are, they know that if you get arrested every other Tuesday, that at some point in time you might object. And that's when they claim that they have to kill you because you were existing arrest. You said, I'm not going to take this anymore.
Okay, I'm not
on
following
arrest
you on
number
that
57. So let's stop playing and start prosecuting, and that'll solve the problem. Do you really believe that for as dumb as these white people are, if we start putting them in prison every time they kill somebody black, they keep doing it?
Okay, real brother, I think we lost you somewhere along the line.
I know. It's where when I started telling the truth. You lost me at the point where I started telling the truth. That's what I'm saying. So my point is, stop all this nonsense about how he's black and he had a hoodie on. Would you please start make it clear. If you kill somebody because they're black, even if it was an accident, you meant to kill Obama. Even if it was an accident, they go to prison. Use the law. Them people didn't die for these laws to not be used.
Okay, well, hold on. Bill wants to respond.
Hold on to your seat, real brother. Hold on to your seat, because I agree. It is not about the police officers. It's about a justice system that allows them to get away with the atrocities they portray upon us. And that is what the fight is truly about.
Okay.
Absolutely. We are the ones. See, by you guys sitting up there saying, well, it's okay because he had a hoodie on, or it's okay because he should have just turned white as soon as the police officer pulled him over. All this stuff is nonsense. They're listening to this, and they're saying, hey, we can get away with this. Now, if you put your foot down like they do when they do kill women, when they kill women, they don't say.
Okay, real brother. When you say put our foot down, what do you want us to do?
I want you to say, when he says, look, those girls that I kidnapped for 10 years, they came with me voluntarily.
Okay, let's talk about something we can relate to. We talked about the young lady. We talked about the young lady, the pregnant woman that was wrestled down to the ground by the police officer. How do you think she should have handled that situation?
She should have said, why in the hell are you guys blaming me? You should be putting this person in jail because he beat down a pregnant lady because she was black. And then you should have prosecuted the guy. And when they sent you the case, because you were a potential juror, and they sent you the case, you don't tell them, well, look, if you bring this person in,
was not my question, real brother. Look, we got to go to a break. Tell everybody to listen to your show.
All right, you can hear the Real Brother Radio Show weeknights between the hours of 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. on the Real Brother Radio Network.
Okay, thank you, friend. We'll be tuned in. Okay, then, bye-bye.
All right.
Take a break. Be right back.
Kinda hard with you
This is Coffee Black, coming through to bring you the latest in sports, celebrity, and entertainment news. Here's The Sip this week. So shout out to everyone that caught last week's slip on The Sip. Sierra had Russell Wilson pushing the baby stroller, not Westbrook. And Erykah Badu wants y'all all to know that she's just getting a little chunky. She ain't pregnant. Guess you gotta shut them rumors down early, y'all. And you know she's an artist and she's sensitive about her. So y'all know the girl that plays Denise on Mary Jane? Well, she got turned at a Waffle House, and the video footage shows her ready to throw blows as security not so kindly escorts her to the door. Money can't backlash, y'all. And things are looking real rocky for Nicki and Meek Mill after he denied rumors of engagement. Then Nicki posted something about it's hard to love a damaged person, and Meek kindly responded, "Get out your feelings." Well, that was quick. I'm just saying. Check out more on my site, thesipwithcoffeeblack.com, and tune in next week to The Sip with Coffee Black. No sugar, no cream.
The New Orleans Talk Network, now on your mobile device, on your computer, in your ear, and interactive. It's new, it's innovative, and it's on your mobile device. Android, iPhone, iPad, and on your computer. Take us wherever you go. Because we're interactive. 504-341-TALK. That's 504-341-8255.
Sweetheart, all of our friends and neighbors are voting for Delegate Joe Preston on Tuesday, June 9th to be our Democratic Party nominee for the 16th Senate District. I just found out that he was rated higher by the Virginia Chamber of Commerce over Rosalind Dance, who's been in the General Assembly for over 10 years. She was given a grade of D.
Honey, I told you that Rosalind Dance is a Democrat in name only. She votes Republican on key issues. I'm telling my friends, church members, and other community groups that we are voting for Joe Preston on June 9th. He is a trusted Democrat who will support public education and expanding health care.
Paid for and authorized by Joe Preston for Senate.
Advertise with Tanya Free and Friends. Text the word advertise to 63975. That's 63975. Or give us a call at 844-321-1010. That's 844-321-1010.
Real Brother here. Play resumes. I wanted to invite the friends to join me for the Real Brother Radio Show, weekdays from 6 to 9 p.m. on the Real Brother Radio Show network. And you can always like us on the Real Brother Radio Show Facebook page. That's the Real Brother Radio Show on the Real Brother Radio Network.com, because the truth has value. Oh, I like that.
Check out the Tanya Free and Friends Rewind every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the May We Help You Radio Network at mwhwradio.com.
Join the conversation. Phone lines are open right now. Give Tanya a call at 804-321-1010 in Central Virginia and 844-321-1010 toll-free coast to coast. That's toll-free 844-321-1010.
We're going to go straight to the phones. We have a caller. Oh, okay. You lost the call? Okay. What were we talking about? Bill, you agree with Real Brother. That's truly a record.
Only to the point of how, it's not the fight, it's how you fight. Okay? It's not the police. The police are trained a certain kind of way. They're always trained. All of them are trained the same way. The police departments are run the same way. If I was the police commissioner, 1/3 of my officers would be resource officers. They would not be police officers, maybe trained that way, but I would put them in schools and communities and everywhere where they've got access. So before the police officers have to be called in, yes, have them patrolling, but I'd have resource officers that can say, this needs to be done, we need to look at this, we need to get that done. And they are still quasi-police officers, but with a different kind of way of looking at things. It's not the police officers. All of them. You know what I'm saying?
Not all of them. I agree with you.
Good officers. Does he have a gun? The good officer, does he have a gun? Does he have a taser?
Right. I agree with you 100%. Well, go back to what Earl said earlier. You are not going to get the good officers to single out who the bad apples are. They are just not going to break that bond.
On any day, a good officer will become a killer. Because if he runs up on a situation and that button is pushed, he's going to pull that gun and he's going to shoot. But he's a good officer. That's not the point. They're trained to do that. What the problem is when you misjudge and you go to court and they let you off when you stood on the hood of a car and emptied your clip into two people who are unarmed and you got away with that.
Right.
That's excessive. You see what I'm saying?
Of course it
and
is.
if you got to shoot somebody 15 times, you shouldn't have a gun no way. If you can't get them on the first or second shot, you shouldn't even be there.
Well, let's go to the phones. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I believe y'all looking at this logically, but you fail to realize the motivator is racism and white supremacy. The reality is all of these officers can be persecuted according to the standard of the law, but it's not the law that they go into court with. They go into court with one of the old boy judges without a jury who says, okay, we're going to implement that racism clause, get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And we fail to realize that they know before they even go what the result is going to be because of racism and white supremacy.
Do you think that's the case with the Baltimore situation with Marilyn Mosby?
No, Marilyn Mosby, she's the X factor. See, they didn't expect her to do investigation utilizing the opposite police force, who had to maintain a standard. And that's the only way that what she did was subjectable. She really was a wise chess player. She played well, and now they're in a quagmire because they cannot change what she's done because it was right. They can't be critical of the investigation because she used the same force only on a different level in the same city. See, the thing that really plays the greatest role is how racist they want to show you they're gonna be. That's really the difference. If they want to be real racist, they're gonna move it right out of town.
Right.
And next thing you know, they'll walk.
And that's one of the reasons why I think they were trying to have her to recuse herself.
Well, that's right. But you know what? The girl got it go now.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%. I do. Thank you, caller. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Bill.
I think racism is real.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it's not
we
just
know
racism
that.
against
We know
black
that.
folks. It's racism against Mexicans and
Well, we just
Muslim.
talked about the Muslims, right?
Okay, there is racism, but I think we use that chip excessively. Okay, because we would still be picking cotton had it not been for white folks saying this is not right. We would still be rioting in the streets if it wasn't for white folks coming together and said this is wrong. They're not addressing it on a racist issue. They're judging on a justice issue. And yes, we should make sure that our voices are heard because we are getting it disproportionately done to us. But at the same time, you cannot let that tail wag the dog when it's a justice issue. There's an accountability issue versus just, I'm black. Oh, you black with an AK-47 up here in the school messing with kids. We're going to get you. Okay, so we got to look at that and not just let this racism thing, because a whole lot of us have progressed and aspired. There's still some places we can't go. There's still some country clubs we won't get in access to. There's still some restaurants that's still going to sit us in the worst seats. That's going to happen, okay? But we can progressively move towards that society. It's not here now, and it's going to be a while. But it's since I was born, when I would look for my first job, they had that little C in the paper. Remember that little block in the paper for colored jobs? Oh, look at you shaking your head. You know you do about the colored jobs.
I know the color. I didn't know about colored jobs.
They used to have a C in the block on the employment section for jobs for colored people.
No, I never saw
a long way.
Wow.
A long way.
Yeah, that's been a while. It's been a while.
So to say we are not progressing, to say the society's not opening up, to say that there
doesn't mean they're not pushing back though to take us back to where, you know.
They can't do that without taking themselves back. We can't give opportunity. They can't. What opportunity do we have to give? What affirmative action do we have to give? We don't have it.
Okay.
So it's not fair to say they want to take away affirmative action. No, they're the only ones that can be affirmative about it. You know what I'm saying? We don't have
Well,
schools.
I think it's taken when, like I said, the woman who was trying to stand her ground and get wrestled to the ground.
Again, you're dealing with one man and one woman situation that's happening.
Well, we
more
talk
and
about the
more.
Michael Browns, the Eric Garners. That's more than one. That's a whole, and they're coming frequently. I mean, for a couple of weeks, I would talk about a situation happening. We were having protests constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a step back. And we're talking about Baltimore on all the murders and how the officers are not responding in a fashion that they're giving full protection. So to me, that's a step backwards, Bill.
But I think it's been happening. It's not new, and technology is new, and it catches it now.
Okay.
This has been happening for decades. I mean, decades. And there was no cell phones at the time. There were no camera phones. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't all of these things to catch officers or even catch people disrespecting police in this fashion. We just didn't have that technology. But now that it's here and it's out
Catch it on
there,
camera.
and you can't say it didn't happen because it did happen.
Right.
And now we have body cams on cops. And I'm not sure how that's going to work out. It could be good. It could not be good. I'm not really sure if I like it or not at the moment right now.
Oh, I
just
do.
To be honest.
Well,
I'm
that's
not sure.
that's how that we would talk to the woman earlier.
Right,
It was
he had
from
a body
a
cam.
body cam
Right,
from the officer's
right,
body cam.
right.
So had
But even still-
that body cam not been on him, we wouldn't even known. I mean, being able to see what she went through. So I like the body cam. I
like it too. In
I
fact,
like the body
asked,
cam.
Is your camera on?
Yeah, because the officer in South Carolina probably would not be in jail now because he would have been able to plant what he was planting and have his story, and we would have been taking his story had that gentleman not been recording the situation.
But you got to look at police chiefs and police commissioners. They don't want that. They don't want that in the news. They're handling these guys.
Of course they don't.
They are handling these guys.
Of course they don't.
Yeah,
That's
they
why
may
I
not
think it
handle
works
them in the
in
news
our
media,
favor.
but they are handling these guys.
It works in our favor when we can see video.
Right. Well,
what it does is it makes it more objective and takes the whole subjective piece out of it. So you would like to believe that if a prosecutor or a district attorney saw a video of you getting shot or beat up or whatever, that then they would go ahead and indict. And I think that's the first time we saw it was in Baltimore. And
Right.
what you saw was the prosecutor said, okay, I'm not going to do what the previous people have done, and that's to put it before a grand jury, which really doesn't make any sense for that type of situation.
Right.
But, here are the facts. I got the report. The threshold for an indictment, and, is low, and pretty much you can cough and get indicted. So, they should have gotten to a point in all of these situations where at the very least there was an indictment and a trial, and if the jury says, okay, we convict, then the jury convicts. If the jury does not convict, then we have to live with the jury not convicting. But I think the problem before Baltimore was that not only were we talking about not having trials, we're talking about not even getting to the point where there was a trial.
Right. Well,
And
we got to hold that thought because we're out of time. As always, I thank God, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, for allowing us a time, an opportunity to speak and hopefully heard. Thanks to our listening friends. Blessings to each and every one of you. And, of course, thanks to Bill, Pete, Brandon, Brittany, Antoinette, Marcus, Coffee Black, Andre, El Bravado, Roosevelt, and Mr. Free. I'm Tanya Free. Until next time, be free. Remember to live life with a purpose.
Tomorrow, I'm wishing this day would pass. My problems weigh me down, but I know they will not last. Searching for the answers, all along they've been so near. I took a trip down in my soul and put aside all of my fears. I said, you can make it. Do what you gotta do, baby. Keep your head up. You can. About to stand on faith. I wanted to give back what he gave to me. So and made a brand new start.
Thanks for joining us for this installment of Tanya Free and Friends Talk Radio. Don't forget, the conversation continues 24/7 at TanyaFree.com. Keep up with the hottest topics of the day. Post your comments, opinions, and more, all at TanyaFree.com. On air, online, and on point. The views and opinions expressed by the guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or this station. Tanya Free and Friends Radio is a production of Freedom Marketing, Inc. All rights reserved.